powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
This is Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast and brought to you by PropSwap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bets and take your profit. Find out how at PropSwap.com or download the PropSwap app today. Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast is here as the Eagles' day 2 of training camp, and so much to discuss as Adam Caplan can break it all down for us as the Eagles with a lot of stuff yesterday. Howie Roseman spoke, Nick Sirianni today, Jonathan Gannon. Plenty of storylines already through 2 days of the Eagles being back at camp. And right now, Adam Caplan joins me here on the Sports Bash for Football at 4. Adam, welcome back, man. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm on my training camp tour up at Eagles tomorrow and Saturday night, which is interesting to have a Saturday night practice. That's not going to be at the link, which is not what I was expecting. So that's kind of cool. And the weather could be much cooler, so you like that. I'll probably be there Wednesday. We have some stuff we heard. You know, we could tell you who's looked good and who needs to pick it up. We've got that. So, yeah, look, it's your typical training camp stuff. Lots of minor injuries so far, which is not good. The offensive line is beat up already. Both guards are dealing with something. It's one thing after another with this football team.
Yep. I know you mentioned Isaac Seumalo. You talk about the injuries. He's got a hamstring. He's week to week. So you're already going in with a guard down. Brandon Brooks had a precautionary injury that pulled him off the field. So you've got another guard down in that spot. And I guess, Adam, the left tackle spot, yesterday it looked like Diller was getting the rips. Today it appeared that Jordan Mailata is getting the rips. So this appears to be, as they said, a true competition.
Yeah, that's why I always tell people when you see reporters saying this guy got the ones, be careful, because especially when there's an open competition, it doesn't really matter. When you see one guy get it, one guy getting it the other day, it's what happens by the end of camp, and that's all that matters. So I would be careful of what's been reported. And by the way, those people do not have access to the practice tape. So when they say, well, this guy looked good, be careful of who's putting it out there, because as Jeff could tell you, Moshe was there yesterday. It's very hard to watch every single player. In fact, you can't do that. It's impossible to have a grade on every player when you're just watching with your own eyes. But what we can tell you, the player of training camp so far, from what we understand for the first 2 days, particularly the first day, is Josh Sweat, who's really primed for a breakout season. He had around 6 sacks. You don't want to read too much into a day or two, but he looks great, and he's a guy they're super high on. And by the way, he's on the final year of his rookie deal.
Yeah, I know that Sweat was, I guess, getting some snaps with Brandon Graham. They're paired, but Jonathan Gannon kind of alluded to today that he looks at Sweat and Derek Barnett kind of as both starters there. And I understand that Barnett really got the better of Dillard in some of the one-on-one stuff. Take that for what it's worth. But we know that that left tackle spot, and then it seems like the defensive line, you're going to see, I don't know about competition, but you're going to see possibly more opportunity for Sweat because he's kind of been limited. You know, he's had the knee problems. Do they expand his snaps this year?
Yeah, in fact, it would not surprise me if he gets more snaps than Barnett. I'm going to go on a small limb. Derek Barnett has been wildly inconsistent. We know that. He's also on a final year of his deal, so he's on his 5th-year option. He needs to really prove himself at just over $10 million. To me, Josh Sweat's got a better future with Eagles than Derek Barnett does at this point, just based on what he did last year. Sweat, he's held up physically very well, and he's off to a good start, and he's got more skill to me than Derek Barnett does.
Adam, obviously, let's go over a couple things that Howie Roseman mentioned yesterday, one of which was Zach Ertz. And he's saying, I mean, he's sticking to this, that he anticipates him being here. I mean, he has to say that, right? He's not going to come out and say, well, he's here, but we're trying to trade him. But
yeah,
are we getting
I laugh at that stuff.
I was going to say, are we getting a more of a feel that they're just okay bringing him back?
They're going to listen. I'm just going to continue to repeat when this hasn't changed for 4 months. When they get what they're looking for, we're willing to accept, he'll be moved. Now, that team has to be willing to accept his $8.5 million. Those two things have to be met. If it happens by the end of August, he'll be moved. It's really, again, nothing's changed. Anything and I thought Jeff Mosher did a great job explaining this on your show yesterday. When it comes to this player, Ertz, well, it's an interesting hairdo. It's not. I was told a week ago. I told Jeff privately. I said, "Listen, he's got some kind of weird hair." I didn't know it was going to be blonde. I was not told that, so that was kind of odd. Very blind. I don't know. I don't get it. But look, he wants to be moved. I mean, he wants to be they know that Dallas Goedert's the future tight end. It's not a secret. So we'll see where that goes. It's early. The leverage will be in the Eagles' hands of a team. And look, there are 31 other teams. Somebody's going to lose the tight end. Someone's going to be down for a while. It's unfortunate. That's the business, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and then Sirianni followed up by, he was asked about just going to force you into more 12 personnel. And he said, no, I've always had two good tight ends and, this, that, and the other thing. So Sirianni's playing along with it. But I guess the question would be, if he's here, does he have to use more 12 personnel? Or, hey, Ertz, your role is just a minimal one?
Yeah, look, if Ertz is back in the fall, it's Goddard's job. He'll play more snaps than Ertz. It's just the way it is. Now, I couldn't tell you what the snap breakdown will be because we're not there yet. Now, it gives them the opportunity to play 12. Yeah, and look, in Indy, they do both, where Sirianni was the offense coordinator, though he didn't call the plays. Here, you've got Richard Rodgers, who, if Ertz is traded, or he's moved, one way, however that goes down, Rodgers is the 2, and Stoll will probably be the 3. They really like him, and they gave him a pretty good chunk, around $125,000, and fully guaranteed at signing.
Adam, obviously, Jalen Hurts was brought up a lot yesterday, and they certainly didn't come out and say, he's our starter, he will be the guy. But if you read the tea leaves, is that what they're saying, or are they trying to get Jalen Hurts to step up his performance? How do you read the way they handled the Hurts questions on, I guess it was Wednesday? Yeah,
look, it's kind of, they want him to be the starter. They want him to take the reins. They're giving him majority of the first-team reps, and that's what they expect. It's really amazing. A year ago, at this time, we were like, why did they draft this player? He's never going to play unless, of course, Wentz gets hurt. You could have made it up. What's changed since then? It's really remarkable, the Wentz trade and him wanting out. And this is something they never imagined. And we've told people ad nauseum. There's still a couple. There are like 2 people are holding on to the fact that Eagles had something nefarious in mind. Like they drafted him to be the starter, which is completely not the case. We outlined this on our show right after. We were told flat out he was drafted because they wanted to upgrade the backup quarterback position. And that's really what their thought process was. But now that Wentz is gone, he's the guy. He just has to do it. And look, when you look at a new head coach who does not have any familiarity with this player, Jalen Hurts, he was not here when he was drafted. Sure, he's watched tape of him, but he doesn't know the player. He has to get to know him. There's really no reason to name him the starter. What I'm calling, he's the presumed starter. I think it's probably the best way to look at it.
Yeah, I know, because people were, hey, Joe Flacco, is he going to get any first team?
He's looked good, by the way, I'm told. He's looked real good, by the way.
Right, I was going to say, because they said, is Flacco going to get any first-team reps? And it sounded as if Flacco looked like I don't say a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but looked like a veteran quarterback who maybe had some more control of the offense. Now, today it appears that Jalen had a little bit better day. But that being said, this isn't a competition, do you think?
I think this is the way I understand it. Flacco is going to push him. He's not going to take the job, but he's going to look good because this is what Joe Flacco does. And then, he's been more of a very average starting quarterback at the pro level during the regular season, but in preseason or training camp, he'll look good. And he looks good. I mean, he really does. And a person close to him told me that this is like the best he's felt in 5 years. So, yeah, he's going to do a good job. He's exactly what you want in a backup, experienced guy and a local guy, and it's a pretty good move by the Eagles.
Yesterday, Howie Roseman was asked nicely about the quarterback situation. Has he done his homework on other quarterbacks? Can't name any names. How extensively has he looked? He says, we have a short list, but it's undeniable that name, Deshaun Watson, continues to surround this Philadelphia Eagles team, and it probably will until something gets resolved out there, no?
Yeah, we actually, we had this is one of our favorite shows we've done. We got some great comments on it. I'll just give you a little bit of a little nugget. We went into this Watson stuff, and we turned the thing all over. We went all over it. We explained on today's show kind of where we're at with it, but one thing I would tell you is that the Eagles had a chance to shoot down any Deshaun Watson rumors, and they did not. You don't need to know anything else. That's exactly where it is. They clearly have interest in the guy, and that's the bottom line.
Now, on that level, I mean, he's practicing. There is no penalties on him right now. He is not supposed to be in
By the way,
Go ahead.
Did you see how he's practicing?
What's he like, the safety, right?
Yeah.
He's like a scout team
think
safety.
about it. It's the most ridiculous thing. It's so awkward. This is what I remember talking to someone of the Texans like a month ago, and we were just exchanging notes. And I said, "Well, where's this thing going?" He goes, "Well, we'll see what he does in training camp." And I know what the guy meant. He goes, "We'll see if he's a quarterback." Like, well, what? Because Tyrod Taylor is their quarterback this season. That's the way they're approaching it. Now, could that change? If they find out that he's going to be able to play this season, right now he's allowed to. But if they feel like he's not going to be suspended, well, where are we going here?
Right.
Like, what are you going to do with the player? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Adam, that's what I was going to say, because his deposition isn't until February. So
yes, February. Yes, exactly. Right.
So
right.
He's not even going to be questioned on this whole situation until after this season is over. So do you go into this season, if you're the Texans, saying this guy's going to play and there's going to be no penalty? This is a very odd – I think that adds a weird wrinkle to this whole mix.
Well, look, I know it's tough to trade him because of the legal issues, the accusations. Nothing charged, by the way. He's got no charges against him.
Right.
But it's just I feel like he'll eventually be traded. It could be in 3 days. It could be in 3 months. I just don't see any way. Now the problem is what is his real value? How could you, if you're the Eagles, right? We all know that the Eagles have pretty strong interest in the guy. How could you trade him when you don't know what his future is? And then even if he's allowed to play this season, do you trust him? Do you have to get in front of him and have to know who this guy is off the field? The thing about him, Mike, is, and we talked about this on today's show with Jeff and I, is that if you look at his charitable work off the field and everything that he's done right, you just can't believe this stuff could come about that he's been accused of. But what we've known in our world is sometimes people aren't what they seem, and let's call it like it is. This is, we don't know what's real and what's not with him, but I just don't know how you trust the situation if you're a football team that's trying to acquire him.
The interesting part about this, Adam, is that, he has been given a plea chance, and he's not taking it because he's maintaining that he hasn't done anything wrong.
Right, and Rusty Hardin, his attorney, they want the name. In fact, they're not going to sign any NDAs. They're the accusers. They want it all out there, and we'll see. Because anything that he said that has happened, been alleged to have happened, was consensual. So it's he said, she said, and we've seen this before in society, and it's really one of the most unique stories I can remember in 21 years of covering the National Football League. I've never really seen anything like this.
Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast. If you want to hear more about this Deshaun Watson situation, they go a lot deeper on today's episode that dropped this morning at 6 a.m. Let's go and take a look. Yesterday, Sirianni was asked about McLeod, Dickerson on pace to be back week one. Those two guys there, do we have any anticipation that Rodney McLeod, I guess, Dickerson's a little harder to read because he's a rookie, hasn't been out there at all, but where McLeod is, do they think that they said day-to-day, so does that make you feel...
rehab? Yeah, his rehab, Mike, is going well from what I'm told, just to answer your question. Yeah,
right. So
better.
Do we anticipate McLeod's ready for week one, or we've seen a lot of Kayvon Wallace out there the first 2 days?
Yeah, won't know until he starts working. Won't know until late August, once McLeod gets out there, kind of where he's at and how much he can do earlier in the season if he's indeed ready. Yeah, I was surprised that the way that Sirianni, he said it real quick about him being there for week one. I mean, I guess he would know better than I, but until you get him out there, and he hasn't practiced since last season, since he tore his ACL, you just don't know. It's a shame. Rodney's had a couple injuries. He's been a great Eagle, by the way. That was a heck of a signing in 2016. But he's an older player, and Wallace is a guy that they like. He can really hit. Got great energy and passion for the job, but the question is coverage. That's always been his challenge.
All right, when we spoke last week, we were on the precipice of maybe a Steve Nelson signing. It happened on Sunday, so he is here now. So the Nelson signing, as you kind of hinted at on Thursday's edition of Football at 4, that has happened. So now Steve Nelson, Darius Slay, Avonte Maddox. Where does that put this secondary in the NFC East?
Yeah, by the way, I guess you just said it. He wants to be called Steve. Is that correct? Steve Nelson?
I guess so, yeah.
I read it somewhere. I read it somewhere. That was funny. Look, now they can compete. Without Nelson, they're not competing. It's simple as that.
Yep.
They cannot afford one injury on the outside. Then you're back at square one again. They really now, I have not heard this, but if you and I were running this team, I'm like, we're going to sign another veteran that's either on the street or gets cut, or there's Drake Kirkpatrick. And somebody, they need one more veteran. but you have to decide what is your goal this season. How high are you trying to compete for a playoff spot? Are you trying to win the division? Because if you are, you really need one more outside corner. That's what I would do if you and I were running it, but I'm not. Neither are you. But quite frankly, they're just not deep enough on the outside. And it's too early to know on McPherson, the fourth-round pick, but I'm very curious to see how – we'll have a report. We'll have a report from our sources on what these guys look like. We're going to have a report for Monday morning show. That'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There's no practice Sunday, from what I understand. So we'll have a report, 4 days of practice, how about everyone look on both sides of the football.
Now, I have said, Adam, adding Steven Nelson doesn't make you win 4 extra games. But it makes you compete more in games, which could help you win games, because without him, you're probably not competitive against a lot of teams. But how much does Nelson change the outlook of this season? I'm not saying they're going to win 10 to 12 games all of a sudden, but does that change the range of how competitive they are in certain games?
It does. So let me give you an example, right? Let's say when you go against Dallas, they're going to be heavy 11 personnel because they have 3 receivers who've got to play. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, who's their best deep threat, and, of course, CeeDee Lamb, who's off to a good start and should be a breakout player. Without Steven Nelson, you can't line up because you can't put Michael Jaquette back there again. You just can't do it. And you don't know about Zach McPherson. You just don't know. He hasn't played a down in the National Football League. So you got to have Maddox now as your slot corner. That's what you want. That's what he was drafted for. And that right now is what he's going to be with Nelson on the roster. If Slay or Nelson can't play, they're in trouble. It's just they're not be able to compete.
Yeah.
It's just they'll say they can, Mike, but they were awful at corner on the outside.
Horrendous.
Opposite Slay.
Were you intrigued? I don't know if you heard Jonathan Gannon today, but had some praise for Davion Taylor and really thought that he's come a long way.
For what we were told from the staff is they like Taylor's tape from Colorado. He's a good kid. He could run. We know he can move. He's built like today's linebacker. He's not 6'4", 250. He's 6 feet, 6'1", and 225, 227, 228, that range. No more than 230. And that's kind of, what these guys look like, and that's what they want. And they want to be a nickel linebacker. If he ever becomes a nickel linebacker for them, right, because they're going to be a nickel team, we're told they're only going to play 2 linebackers pretty much. And if he's their starting nickel linebacker with Eric Wilson, that's a home run. Right now, I don't see that happening this year, but look, he's getting reps here. And remember, Alex Singleton's on the COVID list.
Right.
And they're light at receiver now with some injuries and some strange stuff going on there. And they've got a lot of guys not working.
Last guy I want to ask you about, because I thought Gannon really was spoke glowingly about third-round pick Milton Williams. In fact, he said he's like Ben Simmons. He could play 5 spots on the defensive line, this guy. They had him moving all over the place. It sounds like they're really intrigued by what he brings. Yeah,
so he's going to play D-end. He's going to play D-tackle. He might, because I think he did it at Louisiana Tech, he might stand up a linebacker a little bit. We'll see. But he definitely is going to play D-end and D-tackle. Those are going to be his positions. And he's got a lot of talent, but the one issue he has, he can't correct, and that's his short arms. That's going to be a problem for him. But he's got a lot of ability. He's a great kid from what we're told. We'll see how he handles it all the mental stuff. But I know this is a guy that we're told Tracy Rocker, their OD line coach, was pushing for. He's really high on him.
Yeah, this should be interesting because Gannon also mentioned today, Adam, that Fletcher Cox is going to move around a lot too. So they're going to move him up and down the defensive line. Yeah. He said he's going to move around because of his skill set. I think we should move him around. You put him over the center. They said move him to the outside. So it seems that they're going to get creative with this defensive front.
I love it. And this is one thing, probably the first nugget we got from our sources on Gannon back in February was that this is not only is the wide nine junked, it's like it never existed. And they're going to use personnel way better than the previous staff did on defense, particularly the last couple of years, where they underachieved. They lack of player development other than Sweat. It's been alarming, let's call it like it is. And I do believe, based on the people we've spoken with, player development is going to be major for the offensive and defensive staff. Now, proof's in the pudding. They've got to get it done. But we're hearing it's at a premium with the staff.
Adam Caplan at Caplan NFL. The Inside the Birds podcast dropped this morning. Check that out with Adam and Jeff Mosher. They recap day one storylines, give practice observations, some injury stuff, a lot more on the Watson stuff. Devonta Smith, who was really hard on himself yesterday, apparently had a pretty good day today. All that and more. Check out InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast. Adam, enjoy. Where are you today?
I am driving back from Washington football team practice, although, I got in touch with the Eagles sources just to get an idea of how today went. But I was with the Steelers on Wednesday, and I will be at the Eagles tomorrow and Saturday. Browns next week, Eagles probably another day, and then I fly out west. So lots going on with my training camp tour as usual.
At Caplan NFL for more on that, and check out the Inside the Birds podcast. All right, Adam, safe driving, man.
Thank you.